Welcome back or welcome to Sexy Business Podcast. I'm your host Aisver,
And I'm Carolina.
and today we have a very intriguing theme is for female how to live around their female cycle.
And also today we have this amazing girl, Victoria, who is gonna tell more about uh, how to organize your life, about the female cycle. So Victoria, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, and what inspired you to start looking into it.
Thank you for inviting me. This is really special. Um, wow, I would start first in, I don't know, since I was really young, I've been super interested in cycles. I think it was because I used to observe a lot nature and I started to grow up, and when I was adolescent I started to take the pill, the birth control, and that made me a lot of hormonal imbalances. So I couldn't understand what was happening to my body. And it was not until I started to listen to a method called synthothermal method that it is a way to connect with your body, to observe it. You have to register in some charts your menstrual cycle, and that changed my life. And I was like, why not every woman knows this? Like, why is people not speaking about this thing and they're talking about TikTok? No, so I don't know. I would say that it comes from a desire to share this wisdom that probably your mother and your mother also know about these things, because this is not only a method to not get pregnant, it's also a method to know yourself and to get pregnant. So that's what I am here. I would love to share with you this wisdom.
Yeah.
Actually, it's the first time I hear about this kind of program, what you're saying, I do track, let's say, my cycle on the program, but it's just mainly for like the days when it's gonna come or when it's like fertile days and stuff. But this is very interesting.
But that is very interesting what Victoria mentioned that like, oh, okay, we have like my mom, as you said, like she knew about it a lot, but she was using it just to either know if she like when she to plan the pregnancy. Whereas there's so many ways for us to understand our lives, and as you said, as a kid, like you absorb the nature, and it got me thinking because I used to go to a Waldorf school. We even had this one of the themes where we had to like pick a surrounding in the area and see how the cycles change. And like I think it was for us to ingrain that like life is cyclical. And I think in nowadays world we're trying, like everything is so superficial that we're always trying to keep like everything has to be all the time the same. And as a woman we cannot, because we have every like about 30 days the whole season changing and going through the cycles. So maybe you can tell us a bit more what is happening in our bodies, what phases we go through,
Yeah.
so we can actually understand.
Yeah. So, normally the menstrual cycle goes from 24 days to 36 days. But the average, it's like 28 to 34, something like that.
Yeah.
So the most interesting thing is that the menstrual cycle starts whenever you are in your menstruation. So whenever the endometrium, no, it's liberated, no, it's freed from the uterus. So you are no longer fertile, no. That is a time that lasts approx like from 1 to 4 days. And that is when all the hormones are in their lowest. So the estrogen and the progesterone are in the lowest levels. it is a time that I love that you were saying about the seasons, because there are some women in the world that also link the menstrual cycle with the actual seasons of nature.
Lovely.
So whenever we are bleeding, that's winter, because we need maybe time for resting. Maybe we have not the same amount of energy that we have in the other stages of our menstrual cycle. It is a time to nourish yourself, to maybe, I don't know, read a book, reflect of all the things that happened in your past month. And I think it's beautiful because it's something that our body is naturally giving to us. And if you want, you can actually connect to it, and it's free. Yeah, it's over there. The next phase, it's the luteal phase. No, sorry, the follicular phase. And in the follicular phase, it's from the 5th day to the 11th day. And that is when practically the egg is forming. So it is a time of regeneration. So it is a spring.
Spring, yeah,
Exactly.
All the sprouts are coming out.
wow.
So it is amazing because whenever you are in this phase, you can actually see that you have a lot of energy, you have more clarity in your decisions, in what you want. Maybe you want to start a new project or a new business, and you have that energy, no? So you are also more social, you want to go out. In hormonally speaking, your estrogen is coming up. And estrogen, what it makes, it's to free dopamine and serotonin. So serotonin, you are happier, you feel woo, no? Free drugs. And dopamine, you're super motivated.
Yeah.
So you have everything
Yeah.
to do whatever you want to. And yeah, and then the next stage, it's the ovulatory phase. And that the ovulatory phase, it is the time of the summer. It is actually the time when women will look the most prettier, because literally, hormonally, we want to mate. No, we want to find someone chemically that fertilizes our egg.
Yeah.
So even you liberate that hormones, you know. And it is a time also when you're super social, like on the top. Like you have like more solar energy, and you can concrete projects. Like you are in front of the world, like I have this, you got this. You are in that energy. I don't know if you've relate to this, but I feel it like that when I'm ovulating. And then the next one, it's the luteal phase. That's an interesting phase, because that is a phase whenever the egg hasn't received any spermatozoid, and that's a point where your body starts to fall a little bit down and goes slower. And that's the time of the autumn, no, when the leaves start to fall. And that is a time also where you start to see what no longer serves to you, what no longer is in alignment with you, and you want to let go. And that is the time when a lot of women have difficulties, because anxiety can appear, depression can appear, a lot of premenstrual symptoms can appear. And this is related also to the hormone that is peaking here, that it's the progesterone. And that hormone, it's a hormone that invites you to slow down, to nest, to treat yourself. And if you don't listen to your body, that transforms into cortisol.
Oh, interesting.
So that's a point in a lot of women where they fall down, and
Yeah.
they're really stressed, and they're really depressed, and they're really anxious. But it is ideally, if we lived in an utopic world, it
Yeah.
would be ideally to slow down and to really like connect with your body and with yourself, because the next phase would be again menstruation, and that's like a time of death.
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah.
So I just kind of want to like repeat that one more time. So if we're living according to our cycles, right before the cycle, the menstruation begins, we should naturally rest, slow down. And if we don't do that, we create more cortisol in the system, which is
Yeah.
stress.
Yeah, like ideally, you should find, of course, like I understand that there's a lot of women that have a lot of work and that have children that
Mhm.
have different situations. So, at this point, it would be nice to take some time for yourself, to really listen to your body and give it the food that is asking you, you know?
Mhm.
To really maybe don't go to this event tonight because your body really feels tired.
Yeah.
No, maybe get yourself a massage. Maybe
Yep.
go for a walk. Be in nature. It doesn't have to be really like complicated. You can
Uh-huh.
do really small steps so you can get into those yeah places for yourself.
Mhm. So then, let's say for any busy type of woman, which most of us are these days, work, balance, sport, nutrition, all that kind of stuff. How can we adjust a little bit? Like the first step would be, how can we start adjusting then to the cycle? Because some women are affected more by this. Like, for example, me, I'm very sensitive and I'm becoming very intuitive. So I feel a lot, like you said, I feel when it's my ovulation. I don't even need to look at the like the calendar or something. I know already, what's happening. But let's say there is a woman who are like saying, oh no, I don't feel that way. I don't feel premenstrual phase, or I don't feel this, or, you know, how these type of women should start noticing or mm, changing something to notice maybe into themselves to help to start the cycle of adjusting to this feminine kind of rhythm. Yes, yeah, routines. Yeah, that's the word.
That is a really good question. And first of all, I would start in talking about education, because not even like men know about this since we are children. In school, we don't have a class that teaches us how to connect with our body and to our emotions. So I would say that's number one. And number two, I think that we are also in this world trying to be in rhythms that are not ours.
Oh, what do you mean?
Like we are going like in a linear uh, cycle, no? More like a circadian cycle. Like a circadian cycle, it's the one that we live like day and night, no? And actually, that's more for men.
Mm-hmm.
And we women have cycles that are approx 28 to 35 days, because we are cyclical and we are changing. All our body is changing, our mind is changing, everything is changing for us. So I would say that for women to connect with themselves, first of all, I think that they have to recognize their cyclicity, no? And I think that to do this, you really have to start observing how your body is working. And what I would suggest women that don't know about this, it's there's a lot of wonderful women outside on the internet putting some charts or putting some information about this, where you can actually track every day in your month, in the inside the month,
Mm-hmm.
like thoughts and emotions that appear, I don't know, day one, day two, and you put it and you chart it for 1 month. And then the next month, you also do it. And then you can compare. And you're going to start seeing patterns that repeat. Oh, in the day fifth, I feel the same. Wow, why is this? And you are really going to understand what the fuck is happening in your body.
Wow.
Because I think that also this is what I was telling before about the linear. Maybe it's also that we haven't really discovered ourselves because they've taught us that it was something disgusting, the menstrual cycle, or that we were wrong, no? And more, if it's not fitting into this linear, then it's not working for me. Then it's trauma, no? Then it's hysteria. Then it's a lot of labels that have put us in a lot of like years ago, that it was only and only that the menstrual cycle is a way for women to connect to themselves. So, to answer your question, I would suggest to start charting. Also, if you want to get a little bit more into that, buy yourself a basal thermometer and measure your temperature every morning. You either can put it here or here, like inside. And that's another way that you can start like putting every number that you get every day, and you will see that with the hormones it will start to change. And that's another way to see if you're in your follicular phase, if you're copulating in your luteal phase. That's the syntothermal method that I was telling you before.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I would say step by step,
Yeah.
because there's like a lot of information outside, and I think that's also a beautiful thing that nowadays we have a lot of options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. And I think it's really good what you mentioned that there are different options, because I know a friend of mine is using an app where you said like she's really logging in the emotional side and what is happening. Whereas you said there's another app where you just like measure the temperature and the app knows. So, like to me, for example, like we're sitting on the same couch, but we're so different. Like she feels everything, where I was disconnected from my body for a very, very long time. So I could say that, like, oh yeah, I have a bleeding days, and that's it. You know, like I wouldn't feel anything else in my body. I'm doing way more work now with my with womb, but I think one of the things is like acknowledging and honoring it, because I have a friend who sometimes would be telling me like, "Oh, you know, I'm on my bleeding day, so I'll see how I'm gonna feel. I might not even like join the party," as you said. And I was like, "Yeah, you know, I think it's so normal to even tell people that like, oh, okay, I'm not coming because like I'm in that phase." And I think like making it so normal and normalizing it that like, okay, I'm honoring it and it's my body. I understand what's happening. And if I'm living the life where I can, as you said, arrange things based on that, like those little things that are in my control. So yeah, it's good that we have different tools, but also I think like starting to acknowledge it and honor it is also one of the things. At least that was for me.
And you're saying something really interesting, because at the end we all have different bodies.
Yeah, yeah.
So, for example, there's some women that also make a lot of plans in the luteal phase, and maybe it works for them and
Yeah.
they feel good.
Yeah.
And maybe they put a lot of appointments when they are bleeding,
Mm.
and maybe it works for them. I mean, this is like something that I've read, that they say like a lot of these things, and this is what works for me.
Yeah.
But one of the most important things is to really like observe yourself and find whatever helps you more.
Yeah, so something that you mentioned, Victoria, about the phases of like the bleeding being the winter and that every female is different. When I train, I finally had a coach who was asking me when my bleeding started and so on, and we tried to adjust my training according to my cycle. But then something that I noticed, I was like, oh, okay, according to most sources, when I bleed, I shouldn't push more. But actually, to me, it's like the going down is before. And then when my bleed starts, I feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know, like a Hulk that I can go and smash things. So I just want to go and like, lift heavy weights. And I was like, okay, but maybe that's me tuning into my body and that's how my body feels. And I started also to acknowledge that. But I also started to acknowledge that, like, when I don't feel like doing something, I stop making myself guilty about not doing things just because I feel it. And I was like, yeah, okay, I was just gonna tuck myself in under the blanket and stay in. But yeah, why do you think, and you mentioned it a little bit, that, like, okay, nobody taught women to look into themselves and understand their emotions. Why is that? Like, why most of us have grown up and then we're like 30, 40, and that's when we discover, oh, I actually have this full cycle happening in me and there's flow and so many things are happening. Why do you think we are disconnected from the bodies as women?
Mm. This is a triggering question for some because I've read a lot of books that talk about this. And to answer this, it is really interesting to see that there was a before and an after. Because anciently, women would gather whenever they were bleeding. There's even a book called The Red Tent that it's more focused on Native Americans,
Mm-hmm.
where women in communities, they would gather and they were actually synchronize their cycle.
Yeah.
So they would be inside of the tent of the teepee and they would weave, they would do like a lot of different activities together, but sitting down like in sisterhood. You know, imagine that nowadays.
Beautiful. But this is insanely true because I have two sisters and a mom, and whenever we spend a lot of time together, our cycle just becomes at same days.
Yeah.
And I was like, how?
Yeah.
This is like, I don't know, cosmic powers.
I think that they are the hormones.
Mm.
And but I don't know. I think that it all started like to break more and more when we started to be more in cities and we stopped to connect more with nature and to ourselves. No, because wherever you go in the world, anciently women would gather and they would honor their menstruation, their blood. There's even like some temples for the goddess where they put their blood women anciently.
Wow.
Um,
So it's sort of like a sacrifice to the goddess?
yeah, because it's like something that we are like naturally giving, so it is a way of giving thanks to the earth.
Yeah, I heard about it. Yeah.
And nowadays, some women still do it.
Yeah.
I do it.
But there is a there is also a new thing that I also follow, like some more holistic path people, and yeah, they're giving back to the nature and they're practicing, like when if they are like somewhere, like outside the city in some comfortable area, they just like do like free bleeding also. They give it back to the nature. They spend more time outside, sitting on the grass, in the nice weather, and they're just giving back this. And apparently, like when you stand on the ground, you're already grounding, but this is also helps the woman to organize, also balance the energy and the cycle and everything with like this type of rituals, which is like so beautiful. Like I really like.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
I want to tap a little bit into something that you mentioned in the very beginning, because you said you started using the pill, right?
Yeah.
And stories that I've heard, like have never been on the pill, and then at some point I tried the spiral. And the things that doctors started telling me, they were like, oh yeah, maybe your period will disappear. And I was like, wait. And at that point, I was already like a grown up. So I was like, I already read a lot about longevity. And I was like, I know that as a woman, I will live, like my body starts dying once it's like, oh, okay, she's not fertile anymore. So like she can die. Because like that's the body function. They're like, the longer I'm fertile, the longer my body is like, we need to, her skin, everything, we need to take care of it. And I was like, so if a woman since like 16 years old, she's on the pill, she's telling her body that like, you don't need to be fertile. And then that's really got me thinking. And I was like, but that's really sinking out of feeling it. And when you are 16, you just like, you're just tuning into, you're just tuning in, like you know, your body just starts that. So I kind of think that like maybe part of it is that like instead of like just accepting that it is, we try to place it as like something that needs to be solved.
Yes.
Yeah, because the women's body has been seen as something that we have to control, or that we have to put something on it because it's bad.
Yeah.
No? And what you're saying, it's super interesting because there's a lot of women that I know that since they were really young, they took the pill.
Mm-hmm.
And what the pill makes to you, it's at the end, it's a lot of hormones in your body, no, that are not letting yourself develop in a natural way. So what happens to women that stop taking the pill at 25? They developed in a way in which they don't really know their natural personality. Like, think about it. Like,
Yeah.
their body, how it's working, they don't know how they are.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't know, we are used to put like band-aids on everything and not
Yeah.
go profound. And also what you're saying about the longevity, it is really interesting because it's like if we have always to stay young, no? And after menopause, then you don't function me anymore, you know? You're not worth it. And that's a horrible thing because anciently, when a woman stopped bleeding, she was recognized as an elder. She would be recognized as the wise woman because she would not have her own womb anymore, like bleeding, but she would now have all the wisdom gathered so she could hold all the wombs. You know?
Whoa, I got goosebumps.
Too. A healer. Yeah, the woman used to become healers.
Yeah.
Totally. And it's changed so much. But I think, yeah, it's because the world is in general very masculine. And as you mentioned uh, that before we used to gather and everything, and then it started to change. I think it's the men who started to change because they cannot relate to our emotions, to what's happening in our bodies, because it's not happening to them. So I think in those days, men, they couldn't relate to it. So it's a problem, it's a symptom, it's a disease or something. Let's fix it, let's mask it and stuff. And I think it went for so long that, let's say, our generation, honestly, like we grew up. I remember at school when I had it was like sex education class. So I'm nearly 40, yeah. And I remember they came to the classroom, they picked all the girls. They said the girls in this room, the boys in the other room, because the boys are not allowed to hear what's happening. Can you imagine? And they brought us into the classroom and they started, oh, like this is going to be a cycle. That's how you need to do it. This is bad. Make sure nobody sees it. I remember it was horrific because I didn't have my cycle that time. It didn't start when I got this class. So you know how it terrified me? And it was so intense that, like, even around in my family, I noticed that nobody was talking about it. Not my mom, my grandma, my aunties. It wasn't like a subject. So yeah, like this is really bad. And that's why we grow up to think that it's not normal, and that it's a time to hide, and it's a time to feel shame. And that's why I think a lot of women become over time numb. They don't feel it anymore because you just, yeah, you numb yourself, no, in some way.
It's very interesting because I've seen this reality too, where like women are scared to tell that. Like, I don't know, I had situations where women fainted at work because she had her period and so on. Like, we sometimes have so much pain, and they're like, and I was like, yeah, just tell it. Like people will understand. It's normal, and they're like, no, as if it's I need to hide it. But I also seen that like because we have a period, I think it's something that men don't have and cannot relate. Is like you're gonna share pads and something, and like those situations where like your pants get bloody and so on. And like, I feel like we can connect on those so much because like we have those since like we were very, very young. And I remember like my biggest problem with the period was that like, okay, I want to go and do sports, and like it's keeping me from that. So that's a little bit what you said, like wanting to be as a male, as a man. So that was my thing. I was like, why didn't you have a period, like like as you said, like I was trying to sort it as a problem, and once I stopped looking at that, it's stopped being a problem in my life.
Yeah, totally. So, um, so the last thing would be probably to close up our conversation. Um, what would you just in general would advise the woman to look for, like therapies, like how to connect, how to find this community these days? Because as you mentioned before that, we had those gatherings and stuff, and now you said, okay, so education, we need to look at education, we need to in tune. Is there like practices that also exist in today's world that we can go, and talk more about it? Not only just with your friends, obviously we communicate with our closest friends and stuff. Maybe there is like some kind of practices or um, routines that we can kind of follow to help us even more, because sometimes you can look at the information online, you're like, oh, you need to do this, but when you're by yourself you could be a little bit lost, like, oh, am I doing this right and stuff. Is there exist something like that?
Mm, I I would suggest like reading books. I don't know if there's like a way that I can send you books that I suggest and that you can
Yeah.
publish it.
We can put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I can give you that because wow, I have really, really 3 books that changed my life entirely.
Amazing.
So that is one. And I would say that sit with yourself. Sit with yourself and get to know yourself. Listen to yourself. What is your body needing? Because, as you said, there's a lot of information, and we can find a lot of charts that a lot of women have made before, that talk about maybe the foods that you can eat when you are in every phase, what kind of exercise you can make, what is better for your body in each phase. There's plenty of information now, but what I would suggest is to really understand your body, to really have a relationship with it, because I think one, it's the only thing that will always be yours. And at the end, no, because we're gonna die. But treat it with a lot of love, and it is your compass. Because if something is not going on in your life in a healthy way, your body will communicate that to you. It would appear. So I wouldn't say that there's like a good or bad way to do it, because as we were saying before, there's a lot of different bodies, and maybe what you need, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Vice versa. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just wondering if there is like a also like a therapist, like sometimes there is like a tantra or all those kind of stuff. Is there any also practices like for like a group where you get to experience that again, this community feeling? I don't know if it exists, but
Honestly, I haven't heard
mm,
a lot.
okay.
I've seen them in some music festivals in summer where women that are bleeding can go there and can gather together, but I haven't seen it, sadly.
So it's not there yet.
No.
Maybe you're the one who can bring it up.
Actually, yes, because I'm trying to build a community here in Barcelona that can gather like women that are wanting to connect with their cycles, and yeah, encourage us, empower each other, and have someone who can also be in the same as you. So
Oh, that would be so beautiful. I think it's definitely needed this, this time of community and connection. and help others to find themselves, you know. And I think another thing would be, just to add last one, that even for moms who has daughters, to bring in those kind of events, you know, because we need to teach this from when we are small, you know, not obviously we are learning it later in life, but I think it's super important would be to start education very early, so we teach like younger girls and daughters or nieces, whatever you have in your family, that it's not a bad thing, you know, that's actually beautiful, because that it helps you to give life and to give so many other things for this world, you know. So definitely I'm supporting you for this practice and this dream, you know, like you should definitely do it, and it's very needed, you know, and hopefully we can accelerate this more and more.
Yeah, I love what you said, that the body is your compass, and listen to it. And I know that people will ask, but how do I do that? So communities like that probably could help them tune into it. Um, yeah, so that would be just my thought. It seems like, it sounds like the easiest thing into the in the world, but just because you have lived some people, for example me, I've lived half of my life disconnected from my body, so it took me a long time to hear it. That yeah, the body is the compass, and it will tell you everything.
And connecting with each other, I think it definitely helps, because of, you know, oh, I feel that way, oh no, maybe you that feel that way, or maybe somebody else in this group feels that way. It helps you tune in.
And
You
amplifies.
it amplifies. Yeah, totally. Okay, so thank you so much for being with us here today. It was beautiful to listen. I learned also, even though I thought I learned, and I actually read that book, the Red Tent. But yeah, definitely, we would love to get those names of the books. We can add under our
In the show notes.
in the show
Find it
notes.
down.
Yes, and if any of our listeners has more questions for us or for Victoria, please comment, let us know. We will be very happy to answer. And
And please share it with more women.
yes, because we need to spread the word. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.